Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Best English Podcast. My name is Sophia, and I am so happy you've chosen to spend some time with me today. We're going to talk about something that so many English learners dream about: learning English effortlessly. Have you ever felt that learning English is a constant battle? Does it sometimes feel like a huge mountain that's just too tall to climb? If you've ever felt tired, frustrated, or just wished there was an easier way, then you're in exactly the right place. This episode is for you. For a long time, I've had the wonderful opportunity to help people, just like you, learn English in a way that feels natural, easy, and even joyful. I've met countless students who get stuck with the old ways of learning. You know, the heavy grammar books, the endless lists of words to memorize, the fear of making a mistake. They often feel like they are working so hard, but not seeing the results they want. But I want to share a little secret with you. Learning English does not have to be a struggle. It really doesn't. It doesn't need to be a difficult task you face every single day. In fact, learning English can be simple, it can be fun, and yes, it can feel effortless. Now, you might be listening and thinking, Sophia, effortless? How is that even possible? Well, I promise you it is. The magic trick is all about changing your approach, changing the way you think about learning. You don't need to lock yourself in a room for hours every day, staring at books until your head hurts. You don't have to memorize thousands of words that you forget the next day. Instead, you can begin making small, simple changes in your daily routine. These small changes will help you improve naturally, day by day, without the stress and pressure that so often comes with learning something new. In our time together today, I'm going to share some very practical and simple tips that you can start using immediately. It doesn't matter if you are just beginning your English journey or if you have been practicing for years. These ideas will help you practice listening and speaking in a way that truly fits into your life. You will discover how to surround yourself with English, how to make listening and speaking a daily habit, and, most importantly, how to keep your learning fun and exciting. I want you to hold on to one powerful thought. You are completely capable of learning English. You have everything you need to succeed. And you don't have to do it the hard way. The secret is to approach it with a little patience, a little consistency, and a lot of positivity. So, find a comfortable spot, take a deep breath, and let's explore the wonderful world of effortless English learning together. Before we jump into the specific methods and techniques that can make your English learning journey feel so much smoother, let's take a moment to really understand this idea of effortless learning. What does it actually mean? You might be thinking, is it truly possible to learn a language as rich and complex as English without it feeling like incredibly hard work? The answer, I promise you, is a big yes, and I want to explain why. When we hear the word learning, our minds often paint a very specific picture. We imagine sitting at a desk, a pile of books next to us, trying to force new words into our memory, and wrestling with confusing grammar rules. We might see ourselves studying for hours, feeling stressed, and constantly questioning whether we are making any real progress. This traditional image of learning, the one many of us experienced in school, isn't always the most effective path, especially for a living, breathing skill like speaking a new language. Instead of seeing learning as something that requires intense effort and leads to frustration, I invite you to think of it as something natural, something enjoyable. This is the heart of what we mean by effortless learning. Effortless learning is all about removing the heavy weight of pressure and stress that we often place on ourselves. It's about choosing methods that feel easy, that you actually look forward to, and that can even be relaxing. Let's imagine something for a moment. Instead of forcing yourself to study for 3 hours every Saturday, or feeling that rush of anxiety every time you have to speak, imagine learning English by simply living your life, with English woven into it. This might sound like a dream, but it's a reality for many of the most successful language learners in the world. Let me tell you a little story about a student I once knew. Let's call him Leo. Leo was from Brazil and had moved to the United States for his job. He was incredibly smart and motivated. He bought all the best grammar books, he downloaded flashcard apps, and he dedicated 2 hours every single night to intense study. He would sit at his kitchen table and try to memorize lists of 50 new vocabulary words. He would do grammar exercise after grammar exercise. But after 6 months, he came to me feeling completely defeated. He said, "Sophia, I know thousands of words. I understand the grammar rules, but I can't speak. When someone asks me a simple question, my mind goes blank. All the words I memorized disappear. I feel like a failure." Leo was working very, very hard, but his method was creating a lot of stress. He was treating English like a subject in school, not like a tool for communication. So we changed his approach. I told him to put away the grammar books for a while. Instead of memorizing lists, I asked him what he loved to do. He told me he loved basketball. So I suggested he start watching basketball games with American commentators. I told him to listen to podcasts where former players talked about their careers. I encouraged him to find online forums where American fans discussed their favorite teams and to try writing 1 or 2 simple comments each week. Slowly, everything began to change for Leo. He was no longer studying. He was just enjoying his hobby in English. He started picking up phrases and slang that the commentators used. He learned how to express his opinions about a game from reading fan comments. He was learning in context, and it felt fun. It felt effortless. Within a few months, Leo's speaking ability improved dramatically. He was more relaxed, more confident. He wasn't just learning words, he was learning how to communicate. Leo's story shows us exactly how we can start to think about learning English in this new way. The very first step is to shift your mindset. So many of us carry the belief that learning must be difficult to be effective. We think we have to struggle and push ourselves to the limit. But this simply isn't true. When you approach English with a positive and relaxed mindset, focusing on the small steps of progress rather than trying to be perfect overnight, you will start to genuinely enjoy the journey. The less pressure you put on yourself, the more your brain can relax and absorb the language naturally. The second key is to learn through experience, not just memorization. As I mentioned, one of the biggest traps for learners is focusing too much on memorizing isolated words and abstract grammar rules. Yes, of course, vocabulary and grammar are important building blocks, but they should not be the entire focus. Instead, you should aim to learn English through real, meaningful experiences. This means listening to real conversations on podcasts, watching characters interact in TV shows, reading stories that make you feel something, and, of course, having your own conversations in English. When you are exposed to English in real situations, you begin to acquire it naturally. Your brain starts to recognize patterns on its own, without you having to consciously memorize a rule. Think about it. This is exactly how you learned your first language as a child. You didn't have a textbook. You didn't make flashcards. You learned by listening to your parents and family, by watching cartoons, by playing with your friends. You were completely immersed in the language, and you absorbed it. You can apply the exact same principle to learning English now. The more you surround yourself with English, the more easily you will pick it up. Effortless learning also happens when English becomes a seamless part of your daily life. Instead of trying to find extra time in your busy schedule for study time, you can weave English into the activities you already do every day. This could be as simple as listening to an English podcast while you're driving to work or cooking dinner. It could be watching your favorite Netflix show, but this time with English subtitles on. It could even be changing the language settings on your phone and social media apps to English. These might seem like tiny changes, but they add up. Over time, they create a constant, low-pressure exposure to the language that helps you become more comfortable and familiar with it. Finally, effortless learning is about having fun. It's that simple. If you enjoy what you are doing, you will naturally want to do it more. If learning English feels like a chore, you will always find excuses to avoid it. But if it feels like entertainment, you'll seek it out. So, find what you love and do it in English. If you love music, find English songs, look up the lyrics, and sing along. If you love video games, switch the game's language to English and interact with other players online. If you love cooking, find American chefs on YouTube and follow their recipes. The more you connect English to your passions, the less it will feel like work and the faster your skills will grow. So, in essence, effortless learning is a new philosophy. It's about making English a natural and enjoyable part of your world. It's about shifting your mindset away from pressure and perfection and toward curiosity and experience. It's about listening more, speaking more, and not being afraid to make mistakes. By embracing these ideas, you can transform your relationship with English from one of struggle to one of ease and joy. One of the most effective and powerful ways to learn English effortlessly is through a concept called immersion. But what does that word, immersion, really mean? And how can you use this idea to dramatically speed up your learning, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country? Let's dive deep into this concept, because it truly is a game changer. So, what is immersion? At its core, immersion is the process of surrounding yourself with a language so completely that it becomes a constant and natural part of your environment. When you immerse yourself in English, you are continuously hearing it, seeing it, and using it. It's not just something you study for an hour a day, it's the background music to your life. Think of it like learning to swim. You can read books about swimming, you can watch videos of swimmers, but you will only truly learn to swim when you get in the water. Immersion is getting in the English water. Just like when you were a small child learning your first language, you were immersed. You didn't have a choice. The language was all around you, at home, on TV, at the store. You learned because your brain was constantly receiving input, making connections, and figuring out the patterns. Language learning immersion works in exactly the same way for adults. The more you expose your brain to English in everyday normal situations, the more easily and automatically you'll start to understand it, speak it, and even think in it. But the key to making immersion work is consistency. A little bit of exposure every single day is far more powerful than a long study session once a week. Now you might be thinking, okay, Sophia, that sounds great. But how do I actually do it? How can I immerse myself in English? Let's talk about some very practical, simple ways you can start building your own English immersion environment, starting today. The first and easiest way to begin is by listening to English content regularly. Your ears are one of your most powerful tools for language learning. The more you listen to the natural sounds and rhythms of English, the more you will start to recognize words, understand sentence structures, and develop an intuitive feel for how the language flows. The beauty of listening is that you can do it while you're doing other things, which makes it incredibly easy to fit into a busy life. Let's think about some great options for listening. First, there are podcasts. Just like the one you're listening to right now. The world of podcasts is enormous. You can find a podcast on any topic imaginable. Do you love history, comedy, science, true crime, or celebrity interviews? There's an English podcast for you. The trick is to find shows that genuinely interest you and match your current level. You can start with podcasts designed for English learners, which often speak more slowly and clearly. Then, as you get more confident, you can move on to podcasts made for native speakers. Try listening during your daily commute, while you're at the gym, or while you're washing the dishes. Another wonderful tool is music. Listening to music in English is such a fun and relaxing way to practice. Don't just let it play in the background, though. Pay attention to the lyrics. Look them up online. Try to understand the story the singer is telling. Then, sing along. Singing along is fantastic practice for your pronunciation and fluency because you are trying to match the rhythm and sounds of a native speaker. You can also try audiobooks. If you enjoy reading but find it hard to find the time, audiobooks are a perfect solution. You can listen to incredible stories while you're on the go. A great technique is to get both the audiobook and the physical or ebook. You can listen to a chapter while following along with the text. This is an incredibly powerful way to connect the sound of a word with its spelling and to learn new vocabulary in a rich context. And of course, there are movies and TV shows. Watching content in English is one of the best ways to immerse yourself. You learn so much more than just the words. You learn about culture, you see body language, and you hear everyday slang and expressions that you would never find in a textbook. A good strategy is to start by watching with subtitles in your own language. After you feel comfortable, switch to English subtitles. This helps you connect the spoken words to their written form. Eventually, the goal is to be able to watch without any subtitles at all. Don't start with a complicated show like Game of Thrones or a medical drama. Start with something you enjoy, and that is easier to follow, like a sitcom or a romantic comedy. Beyond listening, you also need to change your visual environment to English. You want to see English everywhere you look. This constantly reminds your brain that English is part of your world. Here are some simple ways to do this. First, take out your phone right now, or after this podcast, and change the language settings to English. You use your phone all day, every day. Imagine how many new words you'll learn just by seeing things like settings, messages, and clock in English. Do the same for your social media accounts and your computer. It might feel a little strange for the first few days, but you will adapt quickly. Another fun trick is to label objects around your home. Get some sticky notes and a pen. Walk around your kitchen and stick a label on the refrigerator, the microwave, the table, and the chair. Do the same in your bedroom with the bed, lamp, and closet. Every single time you see or use one of these items, you'll be reminded of the English word for it. This is a classic technique, and it works because it connects the word directly to the physical object in your mind. You can also curate your social media to be an English learning tool. Follow accounts, pages, or creators that post in English. If you love fashion, follow American fashion bloggers on Instagram. If you're interested in finance, follow financial news outlets on Twitter. If you like to laugh, follow American comedians on TikTok. Your social media feed can become a constant stream of bite-sized English lessons that are interesting and relevant to you. Now we come to a very important part of immersion, engaging in conversations with real people. This can be the scariest part for many learners, but it is also the most rewarding. Speaking is where you put all that listening and reading into practice. One of the best ways to do this is to find a language exchange partner. This is someone who is a native English speaker and is trying to learn your native language. You can meet online through apps like Tandem or HelloTalk. You can arrange to talk for an hour each week. You spend 30 minutes speaking in English so they can help you, and then you spend 30 minutes speaking in your native language so you can help them. It's a fantastic, free way to practice. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Your partner will be making mistakes in your language too. It's a safe and supportive environment to practice. And finally, immerse yourself in reading. Reading every day, even for just 10 or 15 minutes, can dramatically improve your vocabulary and your understanding of sentence structure. The key is to pick things that match your level and your interests. You could start with children's books. They use simpler language and are often very entertaining. You can also read articles and blogs online about your hobbies. As you get more advanced, you can move on to reading novels. When you find a new word, don't stop and look it up immediately. Try to guess its meaning from the context of the sentence first. This is a much more active and effective way to learn. The real power of immersion comes from combining all of these things. It's not about doing just one of them. It's about creating a lifestyle where English is always present. You listen to an English podcast on your way to work. You read a news article in English during your lunch break. You watch an American TV show in the evening, and you chat with your language partner on the weekend. When you build this kind of immersive environment, you'll be amazed at how quickly your English skills begin to grow and how natural and effortless the process feels. When we think about learning English effortlessly, there are two skills that stand out as the most important to focus on: listening and speaking. These two skills are the true foundation of communication. While reading and writing are certainly important, listening and speaking are often the most challenging to practice, especially in a traditional classroom setting. However, when you make a conscious decision to prioritize listening and speaking in your daily life, you will find that your entire English learning experience becomes easier, more natural, and much more enjoyable. Let's really explore why these skills are so vital and how you can improve them in a relaxed, stress-free way. First, let's understand why listening and speaking matter so much. Listening is your gateway to understanding English. It's how you receive the language. When you actively listen to native speakers, you're doing so much more than just hearing words. You are absorbing the rhythm of the language, the correct pronunciation of sounds, the intonation of questions and statements, and the way sentences naturally flow together. This constant exposure helps you build an intuitive understanding of English. It's like developing a feel for the language. You start to notice what sounds right and what sounds wrong, often without even knowing the specific grammar rule. This passive learning that happens through listening is incredibly powerful. Then there is speaking. Speaking is your way of actively using the language. It's how you produce English. Many learners fall into what I call the passive knowledge trap. They spend years reading books and studying grammar, so they know a lot about English, but they can't actually use it in a conversation. They are afraid of making mistakes, so they stay silent. But speaking is a skill, and just like any skill, it only improves with practice. The more you speak, the more confident you become. Speaking forces your brain to work actively. It has to quickly find the right vocabulary, put the words into a grammatically correct sentence, and then produce the sounds correctly. It's a workout for your English brain, and it's the most direct path to fluency. Crucially, listening and speaking are deeply connected. They work together in a beautiful cycle. When you listen, you pick up new words, new phrases, and new ways of expressing ideas. This is your input. Then, when you speak, you get to try out and use what you have heard. This is your output. By focusing on listening first, you are essentially filling your brain with the raw materials you will need to speak. You can't produce a language you haven't heard. The more you listen, the richer your internal English library becomes, and the more you will have to draw from when it's your turn to talk. So, how can we improve our listening skills in a way that feels enjoyable and not like a test? The most important rule is to listen to English content that you genuinely enjoy. If you are bored, your brain will switch off. But if you're engaged and interested, you will learn without even trying. Choose podcasts, music, TV shows, movies, and audiobooks that align with your passions. If you love cooking, watch videos from American chefs on YouTube. If you are fascinated by space, listen to podcasts about NASA. When you are learning and being entertained at the same time, it doesn't feel like work. A very practical tip for improving listening is to use subtitles or transcripts strategically. When you're watching a movie or a TV show, it's okay to start with English subtitles. This can be a huge help because it connects what you are hearing to what you are seeing. You can see the spelling of new words right as you hear them pronounced. As you get more comfortable, challenge yourself. Try watching a short scene without subtitles and see how much you can understand. Then, rewatch it with subtitles to check your comprehension. Many podcasts also offer transcripts, which is a written version of the audio. You can listen to the podcast while reading along. This is an amazing way to train your ear and improve your vocabulary at the same time. It's also important to practice active listening. This is different from just having English on in the background. Active listening means giving your full attention to what you're hearing. Try this little exercise. The next time you listen to a short podcast clip or a news segment, have a specific goal. Maybe your goal is to identify 3 new vocabulary words. Or maybe it's to understand the main opinion of the speaker. After you listen, pause the audio and try to summarize what you heard, either out loud or by writing it down. This practice forces you to listen for meaning and detail. which will dramatically improve your comprehension skills over time. Now, let's talk about the other side of the coin, improving your speaking skills. This is where many learners feel the most fear. But remember, the goal is not perfection, it's communication. The best way to get better at speaking is to speak. It sounds obvious, but so many people wait. They think, I will start speaking when my English is better. But that's like saying, I will start practicing piano when I'm a great musician. It doesn't work that way. You get better by practicing. So, where can you practice? If you don't have anyone to speak with in person, the internet is your best friend. As we talked about, language exchange apps are a fantastic resource. But you can also practice speaking all by yourself. It might feel a little silly at first, but it is incredibly effective. Try talking to yourself in English. As you're getting ready in the morning, describe what you are doing. I am brushing my teeth. Now I am choosing a shirt to wear. I think I will wear the blue one. You can also talk about your day, your plans, or your thoughts on a movie you watched. This is a zero-pressure way to get your mouth used to forming English words and sentences. Another powerful solo practice technique is to record yourself speaking. Use the voice memo app on your phone. Choose a simple topic, like your favorite food or your dream vacation, and speak about it for 1 minute. Then, listen back to the recording. You will notice things about your own speech that you weren't aware of. Maybe you pause too often, or maybe you mispronounce a certain sound. Don't judge yourself harshly, just notice. Then try recording it again and see if you can make a small improvement. This is a great way to track your progress and build confidence. Let me tell you about another student of mine, Clara. Clara was from Korea and was very shy. She understood English very well from reading and listening, but she was terrified to speak. Her voice would get quiet, and she would blush whenever she had to talk. We started with very small steps. Her homework was to go into a coffee shop every day and order her coffee in English. At first, she just said, "Latte, please." Then, the next week, she had to add a little more. "Can I have a medium latte, please?" Then, "Good morning. Can I have a medium latte, please?" Each small success built her confidence. She learned that people understood her and that it was okay if her pronunciation wasn't perfect. From there, she joined an online conversation club where she could practice in a supportive group. It was a slow process, but by taking small, consistent steps, she overcame her fear and became a confident speaker. The real magic happens when you consciously combine listening and speaking. Create a cycle. Listen to a short podcast segment. Then, pause it and try to explain the main idea out loud in your own words. Watch a scene from a TV show. Then, pretend you're one of the characters and say their lines, trying to imitate their accent and intonation. This technique is called shadowing, and it's amazing for improving your pronunciation and fluency. By constantly moving between receiving the language and producing it, you are strengthening the connections in your brain. Remember, the goal is to make these skills feel natural. It's not about being perfect. It's about communicating your ideas and connecting with people. The more you listen and the more you speak, the more you will realize that English is not just a subject to be studied, it's a living tool to be used. And with consistent, enjoyable practice, using that tool will begin to feel completely effortless. When it comes to learning English, one of the most common challenges is building a strong vocabulary. Many learners spend hours and hours trying to memorize long lists of words using flashcards or apps. While this can be helpful to some extent, it's often not the most effective way to truly learn and be able to use new words. A much more powerful and natural method is to learn vocabulary in context. Simply put, this means learning words as part of a sentence, a story, or a real-life situation rather than as isolated items on a list. Let's explore why learning vocabulary in context is so important and how you can start doing it effectively. So, why does context matter so much? Learning a word in context is about so much more than just remembering its dictionary definition. It's about deeply understanding how the word lives and breathes in the English language. First and foremost, it dramatically improves your memory and retention. When you learn a new word by reading it in a story, your brain doesn't just store the word itself, it stores the entire scene, the emotions, and the other words around it. This creates a much richer mental connection. For example, let's take the word devastated. You could look it up in a dictionary and find the definition severely shocked and upset. You could make a flashcard for it, but you might forget it by tomorrow. Now, imagine you read a story about a man who lost his beloved dog, and the sentence says, when he found out his dog was gone, he was completely devastated. Now you have a story, an emotion, and a picture in your mind. You connect the word devastated to the feeling of deep sadness and loss. This connection makes the word much more memorable and easier to recall when you need it. Context also helps you understand the nuances of a word. Many words in English have multiple meanings or are used in slightly different ways depending on the situation. Let's think about a very simple word, like run. If you just memorize run equals to move fast on your feet, you're missing a huge part of the picture. But through context, you learn its many other uses. You can run a business. Your nose can run when you have a cold. A politician can run for office. A computer program can run. Water can run from a faucet. You can even say a movie has a long run time. Without context, it would be almost impossible to learn and understand all these different meanings. Learning in context allows you to see how a single word can change its meaning based on the words around it. Furthermore, learning vocabulary this way helps you use the words naturally and correctly. Knowing a word's definition is one thing, but knowing which prepositions to use with it, or whether it's formal or informal, is another. When you learn words from real-life examples, you absorb this grammatical information automatically. You start to develop a feel for what sounds right. You learn that you are interested in something, not interested on something, simply because you have seen and heard it used correctly so many times. So, how can you make learning in context a regular part of your practice? The best way is to do activities that you already find enjoyable. Reading is a fantastic tool. When you read books, stories, online articles, or blogs, you are constantly encountering new words in their natural habitat. Make it a habit to read something in English every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes. When you come across a new word, don't immediately reach for the dictionary. First, try to be a detective. Read the sentence before it and the sentence after it. Look at the other words in the sentence. Can you make an intelligent guess about what the new word means? This active process of guessing is a very powerful learning tool. After you've made your guess, then you can look it up to confirm. I once worked with a student named Maria, who was a flashcard queen. She had memorized over 5,000 English words using an app. Her vocabulary knowledge was incredible on paper, but when she tried to speak, she struggled. She knew the words, but she didn't know how to connect them. She didn't know which words went together. We completely changed her strategy. I had her put away the flashcards and start reading a simple novel that she was interested in. At first, she found it frustrating. She wanted to look up every word, but I encouraged her to just focus on understanding the main story. Slowly, she started to see how words worked together to build sentences and create meaning. She started to acquire not just words, but phrases and sentence patterns. Her speaking became much more fluid and natural because she was learning the language in chunks, not just as individual bricks. Watching movies and TV shows is another excellent way to learn vocabulary in context. When you hear a character use a new word or phrase, you get so much more than just the word. You see their facial expression, you hear their tone of voice, and you understand the situation they are in. This provides a very rich context that helps the meaning stick in your mind. Remember to use English subtitles. When you see a new phrase, you can pause, read it, and even repeat it out loud to practice the pronunciation. Listening to podcasts and audiobooks is also incredibly valuable. You hear words used in natural conversations and stories. A great practice exercise is to listen to a segment of a podcast and then try to explain the topic to a friend or just to yourself using some of the new vocabulary you heard. This moves the word from passive knowledge, something you understand, to active knowledge, something you can use. When you do learn a new word, don't just write down the word and its definition. Try to use it immediately. The best way to do this is to write your own sentence using the word. Make the sentence personal and true for you. If you learn the word adventure, don't just write, "Adventure means an exciting experience." Write something like, "My trip to the Grand Canyon last year was a real adventure." By connecting the new word to your own life and your own memories, you're creating another strong hook for your brain to remember it. You can also try grouping new words by theme or topic. For example, if you're watching a cooking show, you might learn words like chop, sauté, whisk, and simmer all at the same time. Learning them together in the context of cooking helps you remember them as a set. Then, the next time you're in the kitchen, you can try to use those words to describe what you are doing. The key takeaway is to shift your focus from memorizing lists to discovering words. Be curious. When you read or listen, be on the lookout for interesting new words. Pay attention to how they are used. Try to understand them from the context first. And then, most importantly, try to make them your own by using them in your own speaking and writing. This contextual approach will not only help you build a bigger vocabulary, but it will also help you become a more confident and natural English speaker. When it comes to learning a new skill, especially a language like English, there's a common misconception that more is always better. Many learners believe that the best way to make progress is through long, intense study sessions. They think they need to block out 3 or 4 hours on a weekend and just cram as much information as possible into their brains. However, years of research and the experience of successful language learners tell us a different story. The real secret to long-term success is not intensity, but consistency. Practicing a little bit every single day is far more powerful than one marathon study session per week. In this section, we'll explore why practicing consistently is so much more effective and how you can build this powerful habit into your life. First, let's understand why consistency beats intensity. Think about going to the gym. If you want to build muscle, would it be more effective to go to the gym once a month and work out for 8 hours straight? Or would it be better to go 3 or 4 times a week for just 30 minutes? The answer is obvious. The 8-hour session would leave you exhausted, sore, and probably unwilling to go back for a long time. The short, regular workouts, on the other hand, allow your muscles to adapt, grow stronger over time, and build momentum. Learning a language works in exactly the same way. Your brain is a muscle. When you practice consistently, you're giving your brain regular, manageable workouts. This allows it to process and store the new information effectively. When you try to cram, you overwhelm your brain's short-term memory. You might be able to remember a lot of information for a test the next day, but most of it will be gone a week later. Consistent practice helps move information from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, which is where you want your English skills to live. Another major benefit of consistency is that it helps you avoid burnout. Intensive study sessions can be mentally and emotionally draining. It's easy to feel frustrated or overwhelmed when you try to learn too much too quickly. This can lead to a loss of motivation. You start to see English learning as a difficult, unpleasant task, and you begin to make excuses to avoid it. But when you practice in short, daily bursts, it feels easy and manageable. It's much easier to find 20 minutes in your day than it is to find a 3-hour block. This approach keeps your learning experience positive and sustainable over the long run. Most importantly, consistency builds a habit. When you do something every single day, it eventually becomes automatic. It becomes a natural part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or making your morning coffee. You stop having to use willpower to force yourself to practice. You just do it. Once English practice becomes a habit, you are on the autopilot path to fluency. These daily habits, no matter how small, are what add up to massive results over time. So, how can you make consistent practice a reality in your busy life? The first step is to set a realistic schedule. Be honest with yourself about how much time you can truly commit each day. It is much better to commit to practicing for 15 minutes every single day and actually do it than to commit to an hour a day and only do it once or twice a week. Look at your daily routine and find a small pocket of time that you can dedicate to English. Maybe it's during your morning commute. Maybe it's during your lunch break. Maybe it's right before you go to bed. Find your time slot and stick to it. A great way to practice consistently is to integrate English into the activities you already do. This is the core of effortless learning. You don't always need to find extra time to study. You can use the time you already have. For example, if you already go for a walk every evening, why not listen to an English podcast during your walk? If you already watch an hour of TV to relax at night, why not watch a show in English? If you spend time scrolling through social media, why not follow more English-speaking creators? By merging your English practice with your existing habits, you make consistency almost automatic. Let me give you an example of what a consistent weekly schedule could look like. It doesn't have to be complicated. Monday, listen to a 20-minute English podcast on your way to work. Tuesday, spend 15 minutes on a language learning app like Duolingo or Babbel during your lunch break. Wednesday, watch one 25-minute episode of an American sitcom with English subtitles in the evening. Thursday, read an article in English about one of your hobbies for 15 minutes before bed. Friday, have a 20-minute video call with your language exchange partner. Saturday, listen to some English music while you're cleaning the house and look up the lyrics to one new song. Sunday, write a short journal entry in English about your week, even if it's just a few sentences. Look at that schedule. None of these activities take a long time. They're all short, manageable, and can be easily fitted into a normal week. But imagine the cumulative effect of doing this every single week for a year. The progress would be incredible. Using technology can also be a great help. Language learning apps are designed for short, consistent practice. They often use games and points to keep you motivated. You can set daily reminders on your phone to prompt you to do your lesson. Tracking your progress is another powerful motivator. Keep a simple journal or a note on your phone. Every day, just write down one thing you did to practice English. For example, today I learned 5 new words, or today I had a 10-minute conversation. At the end of the month, you can look back and see a long list of accomplishments. This visual proof of your consistency will encourage you to keep going. Finally, remember to be kind to yourself. There will be days when you are too tired or too busy to practice. That's okay. Life happens. Don't let one missed day turn into a missed week. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be consistent. If you miss a day, just get back on track the next day. It's the overall pattern of regular practice that matters. Avoid the trap of intensity. If you find yourself feeling frustrated or burnt out, it's a sign that you might be pushing too hard. Take a short break, do something fun in English that feels easy, and then return to your routine. Remember, learning English is a marathon, not a sprint. Slow and steady progress, day after day, is what will ultimately lead you to the finish line of fluency. Throughout your journey of learning English, you will inevitably face challenges. There will be moments when you feel stuck, days when you feel frustrated, and times when you doubt your own ability to succeed. This is a completely normal part of any learning process. The key to getting through these difficult moments and reaching your goals is to learn how to stay positive and keep your motivation high. Your mindset is one of the most powerful tools you have. In this final section, we will explore why staying positive and motivated is so essential. And I'll share some practical strategies to help you keep that inner fire burning bright. First, let's understand why having a positive attitude is such a game changer for language learning. When you are learning something new and complex, it's easy to be hard on yourself. You might feel intimidated by how much there is to learn, or you might compare yourself to other learners who seem to be progressing faster. A positive mindset helps you overcome these doubts and fears. It allows you to see challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to grow. It helps you remember that making mistakes is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are trying and learning. Positivity is also a direct source of motivation. When you believe in yourself and your ability to improve, you are far more likely to stay committed to your daily practice. If you are constantly thinking negative thoughts like, "I'm not good at this," or "I'll never be fluent," it will drain your energy and make you want to give up. A positive outlook, on the other hand, makes the entire process more enjoyable and rewarding. It helps you maintain your excitement and curiosity, which are the fuel for consistent learning. So, how can you actively cultivate this positive and motivated mindset? One of the most effective strategies is to set clear and achievable goals. Often, learners feel overwhelmed because their only goal is a huge, vague one like, become fluent in English. This is like trying to eat an entire elephant in one bite. It's impossible. Instead, you need to break down your big goal into smaller, manageable steps. For example, a good short-term goal could be to learn 10 new vocabulary words related to food this week. Or it could be to have one 5-minute conversation in English by the end of the month. When you set these small, specific goals, you can actually achieve them. And every time you achieve one, you get a little boost of confidence and motivation. It creates a positive cycle of success. Another powerful tool is to track your progress. It can be difficult to notice your own improvement on a day-to-day basis. You might feel like you're not getting any better, but if you keep a record, you can look back and see how far you've truly come. You could keep a journal where you write down the new things you learn each week. Or you could record yourself speaking once a month and compare the recordings over time. When you have concrete evidence of your progress, it silences that negative voice in your head that tells you you're not improving. Let me tell you about a student named David. David had been learning English for a few years, and he hit what is often called the intermediate plateau. He felt completely stuck. He felt like he wasn't learning anything new, and he was about to quit. I asked him to do a simple exercise. I had him find an old email he had written in English from 2 years prior. When he read it, he started laughing. He said, "Wow, I can't believe how many mistakes I made back then." My sentences were so simple. In that moment, he realized how much he had actually improved. Seeing that old email gave him the motivation he needed to keep going. It is also crucial to find your why. Your why is your deep, personal reason for learning English. Why did you start this journey in the first place? Are you learning English to get a better job and provide for your family? Are you learning it so you can travel the world and connect with people from different cultures? Are you learning it to be able to watch your favorite American movies without subtitles? Your reason has to be meaningful to you. Write down your why on a piece of paper and put it somewhere you can see it every day, like on your bathroom mirror or your desk. When you feel your motivation fading, look at your why. It will remind you of your purpose and give you the strength to continue. Remember to celebrate your small wins. We are often so focused on the final destination that we forget to enjoy the journey. Every time you accomplish something, no matter how small, take a moment to acknowledge it. Did you understand a joke in an English TV show? Great! Did you successfully ask for directions in English? Fantastic! Did you use a new vocabulary word in a conversation? That's a victory! You can reward yourself in small ways. Maybe you treat yourself to your favorite coffee or watch an extra episode of your favorite show. Positive reinforcement makes your brain associate English learning with pleasant feelings, which will make you want to do it more. Finally, embrace mistakes. I cannot say this enough. So many learners are paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake. But mistakes are your best teachers. Every single error you make is an opportunity to learn something new. Instead of feeling embarrassed when you make a mistake, try to feel curious. Why was it a mistake? What is the correct way to say it? When you shift your perspective and see mistakes as helpful feedback, You remove the fear and open yourself up to faster learning. Learning a language is a long journey, and it's okay to feel frustrated sometimes. When those feelings come, don't fight them. Acknowledge them. It's okay to take a short break. Maybe for a day or two, just do something fun and easy in English, like listening to music without any pressure to learn. Then come back to your routine with a fresh mind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. You are doing something amazing, and with a positive spirit and consistent effort, you will absolutely reach your goals. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I want to take a moment to bring everything together. Learning English does not have to be the difficult, stressful chore that so many people believe it to be. By shifting your approach and adopting a few key habits, you can truly make the process feel more natural, enjoyable, and effortless. We started by understanding that effortless learning is a mindset. It's about letting go of the pressure for perfection and instead focusing on communication and consistent small progress. We talked about the incredible power of immersion, of creating a world for yourself where English is all around you. This means filling your ears with English through podcasts and music, changing your phone and social media to English, and surrounding your home with the language. It's about making English a normal part of your daily life, not just a subject you study. We emphasized the importance of focusing on listening and speaking, the core skills of communication. Remember the cycle. The more you listen, the more you have to say, and the more you speak, the more confident you become. We also learned that the best way to build your vocabulary is not by memorizing isolated lists, but by learning words in context, through stories, movies, and real conversations. This helps you understand not just what a word means, but how to use it correctly and naturally. And perhaps most importantly, we discussed the secret ingredient to long-term success: consistency over intensity. Small daily actions add up to huge results over time. It's better to practice for 20 minutes every day than for 3 hours once a week. This builds a habit and prevents burnout. And finally, remember to be your own biggest cheerleader. Stay positive, celebrate your small victories, and always remember your personal why for learning English. This journey is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be ups and downs, but with patience and a positive attitude, you can overcome any obstacle. You are fully capable of achieving your English goals. Trust the process, enjoy the journey, and be proud of every step you take. English is more than just a language. It's a bridge that can connect you to new people, new cultures, and new opportunities. You are on the right path. Keep going. Thank you so much for joining me on Best English Podcast today. I hope you found these tips helpful and that you feel inspired to continue your English learning adventure with a new sense of ease and excitement. If you enjoyed this episode and want to make sure you don't miss out on more tips and practices to help you improve your skills, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. And for the best experience, click that little bell icon to turn on notifications. That way, you'll be the first to know every time a new episode is released. Keep practicing, stay positive, and I look forward to talking with you again soon.